Broadcasting from parts unknown USA, it's the many moods of Ben Vaughn.
Two 10, 618, 1044.
A very young Rod McKuen as a folk singer. Doesn't Anybody Know My Name by Rod McKuen. And Rod McKuen was everywhere for a while. He was omnipresent. He was everywhere. He was on the Ed Sullivan Show, the Mike Douglas Show. His poetry books were selling by the millions. Every year he had a sold-out birthday concert at Carnegie Hall. He toured internationally with orchestras, and he put out 60 vocal albums, 10 spoken word albums. He wrote classical pieces that were performed around the world. He was everywhere. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't. He completely disappeared. And I moved to L.A. in 1995, and a few years later, I was looking through the concert listings in the L.A. Weekly, and I saw a listing for Rod McKuen in concert in Thousand Oaks. So I called up a friend of mine, and I said, hey, Rod McKuen, we got to go, right? And he said, oh, yeah. So we went. And right as we were leaving my apartment, he said, you should bring a book for him to sign. And I said, nah, I don't think so. I don't want to carry it around. And he said, no, seriously, you ought to bring it. So I did, and we went to the concert, and the concert was really good. It was 2 sets. There was an intermission in between, and during the first set, he came out, and I was really surprised by how charismatic he was for a loner, for a guy who's known for being alone all the time, which is one of the interesting things about Rod McKuen. He has a reputation for being a loner and being alone all the time, except there are millions of photographs of him alone, which means he wasn't alone. There was a photographer there. But anyway, he in the show, he at one point said, I was going to read a poem from Lonesome Cities, but I forgot my copy. So I'm going to have to move on unless there's somebody here that has a copy of the book with him. At which point I stood up and waved my copy, and he motioned for me to come up to the stage. And I handed him my book, and he said, what's your name? And I said, Ben. And he asked the audience to give Ben a round of applause. And then I went back to my seat, and he read the poem, and it was great. Except I realized that I had just lost my copy of Lonesome Cities. So the intermission comes up, and while we're hanging around in the lobby, this guy comes over and says, you're Ben, right? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I'm Rod's brother, Edward, and Rod would like to meet you after the show and sign your book and give it back to you. So hang around and we'll make that happen. And it did happen. I ended up having a face-to-face with Rod McKuen. He shook my hand and said, thanks for saving my ass. And then he autographed my book and gave it to me. And that was my first face-to-face experience with Rod McKuen, and it was very, very exciting. And I want to play a piece of music right now that shows how good Rod McKuen could be in concert. This is from a 1970 live album recorded in Amsterdam that's been reissued recently, and it's a great song that he sings. It's called As I Love My Own. It's an interesting song, too, because there are no rhymes in this song. The song does not rhyme, and his voice is in really good shape. Rod McKuen from 1970, live in Amsterdam with As I Love My Own.
Your smile as it widens on your face is like a child running off across the hill. And I love your smile as I love my own. And I love your smile. Your hair climbing down around your ears has never been more beautiful than now. And I love your hair as I love my own. and I love your hair. Your body moving down to mine is like a coupling of the pale November clouds, and I love your body as I love my own, and I love your body, and it's part of my own.